Hey, what's up, guys? You downloaded a brand new episode of Speaking Wrestling with Elvis Arroyo, and I am your host, Elvis Arroyo, and this is episode 32. And on this episode, we are speaking AEW Dynamite, NXT, also what to watch for. I'm going to give you guys my MVPs and floppers of the week, so stick around for that. But before we get into that, I want to give you guys a quick reminder. Head on over to our YouTube page, hit subscribe. You can also follow us on Twitter at Speaking Wrestle and on Instagram at Speaking Wrestling. And of course, this episode is sponsored by Anchor, guys. It's the quickest and most easiest way to get your podcast started and distributed. Download the Anchor app. It's available for Google and iOS. And let's get started with this week's episode, guys. Episode 32, we are speaking AEW Dynamite, as AEW once again was live from Charleston, West Virginia. And this was a good show. We'll get into a lot of it. There's a lot to talk about. I definitely want to start with this opening match between Sammy Guevara and Hangman Adam Page. And this was a terrific way to kick off the show. Once again, showcasing your talent, your future of this company. And what two better guys that are very well in youth right now and look to prosper going into AEW's future. Both of these gentlemen could be future world champion contenders. You know, as more you think of it, Hangman Adam Page, you know, it wasn't time for him to grab that AEW World Championship, that inaugural championship over Chris Jericho, but it definitely looks like he is in a position where he can build to that, and I think with this match, picking up a win over a great Sammy Guevara, and let's talk about him real quick, because this kid is showing so much improvements, very young. To a lot of these audiences, it might be their first time watching Sammy Guevara, you know, just since he's been on AEW, they might not have seen him before on MLW or his work in Mexico or in the indie scene, but this kid is great, and again, him being in the inner circle right now has him set up for a prime position to at some point maybe, you know, avenge Chris Jericho or turn babyface, you know, at some point, because he's a good kid. He's got a great arsenal in his movesets, and again, his charisma, his showmanship, you know, he's got that whole young, cocky, untouchable thing going on right now, which works great for him because he backs it up. And, you know, like I said, he's got good looks. So a lot for Sammy if you're looking to put some stock into him in the future. But we're speaking about Hangman Adam Page. He's also so good. And with the promo that he did afterwards, it was short. It got to the point. He addressed his next opponent, Pac, at Full Gear, which, once again, it was a good way of building up to the next match. And with the win here, again, very impressive. Gives him great momentum going into that match with Pac. So I look forward to that. Second match of this evening was women's match, Shanna versus Hikaru Shida. I'm butchering that name. I probably butchered the first name as well. But this was a good match, and I think this is my first time seeing both of these women on AEW television. And guys, I got to say, this is the best women's match I've seen so far in this company. And these are two women that I don't think they've ever really been promoted. They haven't been featured. They really just got thrown out there to be, you know, put on a women's match on a AEW show, fill up some time. And boy, did they take advantage of the opportunity that they were given, because this was a great match. I gotta say, there's some good wrestling, you know, there's some good takeaways from tonight, but if you're talking about a great wrestling match, straightforward wrestling match, this was it. And these ladies had a great match, went on even pretty long. They had a commercial break during this match as well. And Hikaru Shida picks up the victory here. Great matchup right here. And after this, we also got this weird vignette showcasing Brandy Rhodes, and it also shows Kong in this. It kind of looks some like witchcraft, some voodoo stuff going on here. I don't get it. I don't know what direction this is. Totally takes me out of this. But from one odd thing onto another, we go into the Rock and Roll Express. Not saying that the Rock and Roll is an odd thing, but here they are coming out with the AEW Tag Team Championships, which of course will be defended later on in that night to crown the first ever AEW Tag Team Champions between the Lucha Brothers or SCU, SoCal Uncensored. And this was a good promo up on stage with Chris Van Vliet, but only to be attacked by Ortiz and Santana. And, you know, they did a side bit off the stage, putting, it looked like Ricky Morton through the stage there. Out come the Young Bucks. So definitely got some tension going up between the Young Bucks, the Elite, and the Inner Circle. Of course, you know, tension boils up between Cody Rhodes and Chris Jericho, which that, of course, leads us into Chris Jericho and Cody Rhodes AEW contract signing at Full Gear. And this is a really good promo, I gotta say, from Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho coming out here only as he can look, wearing a purple suit jacket with jack-o'-lanterns all over it, hair straightened all the way back. I mean, he looked like Sebastian Bach out there instead of Chris Jericho. So good stuff there, looking like a rock star. And of course, we have Cody Rhodes, an EVP for AEW, and again, the challenger for Chris Jericho's AEW Championship at Full Gear on November 9th in Baltimore. And I got to really make the comment on this. Cody Rhodes, he's being portrayed as the babyface in the storyline, as Chris Jericho is the snobby heel who, thinks that he's taking over this company, over an EVP like Cody Rhodes, who is so grateful to the fans and so grateful to be putting on this show and get AEW where it's at, as he is also a spokesman and representative for the company, being an EVP for it. But Cody Rhodes is supposed to be portrayed as the babyface in this storyline, but to me, it really doesn't seem like Cody Rhodes is the babyface that we should be cheering for. I mean, we're really cheering for the guy that is coming off as being an egomaniac, putting himself all over the show. This show featured Cody Rhodes getting out of a plane with Tony Schiavone, entering in a limousine as they were on their way to the arena. And of course, this is a little bit playback. It's a throwback to classic WCW television back in 1993, which showed, Vader coming in with Harley Race, and it also showed Ric Flair coming in with Mean Gene Okerlund. The same thing. Now they're doing it with Cody Rhodes and Tony Schiavone. So I get it. It's an ode to the past. But really, to Cody, it comes off as this egomaniac that, rides around in private jets. And he shows up at the arena when he wants, rides in limousine, and he's, dressed to the nines all the time. And Chris Jericho really came off more like the rock star and the antagonist, really sticking it to the man, because in this case, Cody is the man, despite Chris Jericho being the heel in this storyline. Chris Jericho came off more as the babyface in this than Cody Rhodes did, and especially at the very end, when Chris Jericho said that he wanted to make this a very professional, respectful contract signing for the championship, and he extended his handshake. And Cody Rhodes can't just let it be just a simple handshake. The man showed you respect. The man is giving you an opportunity for the championship, and you just can't let it go. So you have to say the last laugh by pulling back on Chris Jericho's hand when Chris Jericho was pulling away from his handshake. But then leads us to a video. We see Sammy Guevara in the back, along with Jake Hager, as it looks like they're doing a number on Cody Rhodes' older brother, Dustin Rhodes, in the back here. And I got to say, this was some pretty heinous stuff from Jake Hager. I mean, he literally dented the side of that limousine with Dustin Rhodes' head. And then to drive the door in between him and the limousine, just some more devastating stuff from the inner circle. And Chris Jericho getting the last laugh as he lights up a cigar and gets into this limousine. It says, "Happy Halloween" to Cody Rhodes, and off he goes. This segment took up a lot of time in the show, but it was good stuff. Of course, it's a great promotion into your World Heavyweight Championship match, which is coming up in just a number of weeks. And also on the show, we had Kenny Omega, as he's also getting set up for a big matchup with Jon Moxley at the next pay-per-view in Full Gear, as he was in a six-man tag team action with his tag team partners, of course, the Elite, the Young Bucks. And, pretty interesting stuff during the intro of Kenny Omega. I don't know if this was part of his gimmick, because he came out dressed like a video game character, apparently. I'm not really familiar with all this stuff. I'm not that big into gaming. But he came out dressed like a character, and there was a big intro promo showing in his video package. It took me out of it. But nonetheless, again, more Santana's and Ortiz post-match beat up on the Young Bucks. So again, more stuff brewing between that tag team. And of course, we're speaking about Kenny Omega and his opponent at Full Gear, Jon Moxley, as up next was the Librarian, Peter Avalon, come out to cut a promo. Not quite sure if he was going to be in action, but nonetheless, he comes out, cut a promo, and it is interrupted by Jon Moxley himself, hits him with the paradigm shift, and for the first time in what it appears to be over a month, this is the first time we're going to get a full uncut promo from Jon Moxley. We've heard from Kenny, we've heard from Cody, we've heard from Jericho cut these great promos in the past few weeks. Now it's time for your other superstar. The guy that you really went out there and took from the other company to bring here to give you that exposure. 1/3 of one of the biggest factions in the history of this industry. Yeah, that guy. That guy is now here in your company. And this was the first time that we were really going to have that opportunity to get Jon Moxley the way Jon Moxley described in his interviews with Wade Keller over the summer and with Chris Jericho, that, he was not going to want to be scripted. He's somebody that you just got to let loose. And he's now has full control of and direction of the character, which is Jon Moxley, which, in his eyes should have been Dean Ambrose when it was his time in the WWE. And now he's really going to have the opportunity to showcase and let people in on who he really is. And this is the first promo that he did. And I got to say, he knocked it out of the ballpark. Pretty intense. It looked like he was really hot. Looked like he was really fuming on some stuff. I got to imagine the stress and anxiety of that big moment to finally let it out and let it be known, because now this, in fact, was his mission statement to the entire wrestling industry of who Jon Moxley is. And I like that a lot. And I love the intensity, because it's something that he showcases in all his matches, his promos, his in-ring work, and his history, his body of work, is that he is this loose cannon type of character. And of course, Jon Moxley also let it be known, because there's also a caveat to this twist story between Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega at Full Gear, because Tony Khan has made it official that it will be a non-sanctioned match. And what have we known about non-sanctioned matches in AEW? It means that a non-sanctioned match will not go on your record. It does not affect your win or loss. Therefore, it does not count as a loss, and therefore it doesn't count as a win. And Jon Moxley, up until this point, has had several matches on AEW, and he's had matches that have gone over the time limit and resulted in a draw. And he's also gone in matches with Joey Janela that have also been unsanctioned. So, and also with, win and losses taken into account of to whether you're going to deserve a title shot or not. Cody Rhodes is undefeated, but really those wins have also become tainted. Jon Moxley finds himself in a spot where he hasn't had a victory because his matches don't allow him to pick up a victory. And now he's in another position where even if he beats Kenny Omega and goes out there and they tear themselves limb to limb, they break each other's backs out there, it's not going to mean a goddamn thing, because Jon Moxley is still not going to have enough wins to put himself in a title position to go after that AEW championship. So once again, there's a twist to this storyline, and it's that Jon Moxley is this uncontrollable superstar that AEW now has on their hands, that they thought they were getting the superstar, but they don't know really how to control him because he's so loose coming from the WWE. He's been let out, and society and AEW doesn't know what to do with him, because he clearly made it that once again he feels that AEW is treating him the same way that society treats him and looks down on him. And again, this is good character building for the Jon Moxley character, and once again, very relatable. I feel like a lot of people out there might feel and can relate to him, and this is again why when you turn a character, his realism, and you turn that real person all the way up to an 11, like Stone Cold Steve Austin says, you get the real person. And I think now we are getting, signs of who he really is, and whether this is Jon Moxley, the character, or this is really the man himself, letting some of his pent-up frustration out on the world and out on a live microphone. You're led to believe that it's a little bit of both, because he does have this pent-up frustration coming from the WWE and not being able to have this freedom. And now he's being let loose, but once again, he's being restrained by corporate restrictions and the suits and politics of professional wrestling and what comes with being in a corporate setting like this. So very interesting stuff. And Jon Moxley, once again, finds himself in an opportunity to put himself over, and what a way he does. He's a little bit of a sleeper. You didn't really get a lot of these promos in WWE, which is a surprise that tonight he really let it loose and, came from the heart. You really saw it out there and you really heard it. And on to the tag team title match between Lucha Brothers and SCU in the finals of the tag team tournament. And I gotta say, guys, this match really was saved up to almost the last 10 minutes of the episode, and it was note that they were gonna go off air regardless if the show ended at 7 p.m. and that they would broadcast the finish of the match over on social media, which led me to believe that they're showing signs that this match is going to be rushed to get the finish in before they go off air. And indeed they did. There was a point in the match where I really felt that time, it's almost 7 p.m. here on the West Coast, and I'm thinking they haven't really even told a story. I mean, they haven't even shown, any signs that, of wear and tear, and they haven't even gotten to that, that tag, that hot tag that's going to get the crowd going. And, they haven't even gotten into any false finishes. I mean, this is for the tag team championships. These are two teams that have been battling for over a month now going into this. And then Lucha Brothers, who are just, a fantastic tag team. and they're not getting the opportunity, and it ends up in a roll-up. And after all the flips and dives that these men did, and they try to rush in within minutes, Tony Schiavone said it best. After all that, it ends with a roll-up, and SCU becomes the first ever AEW Tag Team Champions. But it really didn't felt like that big pop that they might have thought that they would have gotten at the end. Now, congratulations to them, and I did have them winning this because I did have a feeling that they were gonna want that big go off the air, send the fans home happy with the good guys going over. With the finish they did, because it was rushed, it really did seem like, there were signs of, hey, let's go home and just beat me with a roll-up. We're already 2 minutes over 7 p.m., and it really felt like that. And I got to say, SCU, if they were to be portrayed as the good guys in this match, with that finish, to me, next week they're going to become the biggest heels in the company, and the Lucha Brothers, to me, look like they are going to become the biggest babyface tag team in the company, because it seems like they didn't get a fair shot at telling a better story in this tag team matchup. And once again, timing plays a big role in AEW. And you can notice it throughout the show when they are going to go to commercial breaks. It feels like they are being rushed at times, and it also feels like at random points they're just going to a break without any say that they are going to a commercial break. And timing of the show and matches, once again, I think, plague this the finish to this great tag team matchup, what should have been a great tag team matchup, because the finals to name your first ever AEW tag team champions. And again, all these competitors in the finals, well deserved. And again, I like the finish. I think SCU being the first ever and having that achievement to go along with their careers for the rest of their careers is great. And also for AEW, great chance to look back that the first ever champions was SoCal Uncensored. But the timing of the show did in fact affect the end of the show. You might look back and go back to some of those vignettes with Cody and Tony Schiavone. Some of those went really long. I mean, the limo ride to the arena, it almost felt like at some point they were supposed to cut back to the arena, and they never did. And then they just started shooting and cutting a podcast in the back of the limousine. That went a little bit too long. But other than the finish to the show, I'll say this episode of AEW Dynamite was a good show. And on to NXT, guys. NXT started out very interesting. No Slipknot intro this week. Kind of, what the fuck? But instead, we got Poppy. I've never heard of this artist, Poppy, but I've looked her up. Female artist with a band. Her name is Poppy. Accompanying Io Shirai, as Io came out here. And Io, there's been a video package featuring Poppy showcasing Io in the past, so it seems like they're no stranger to the connection between Poppy and Io. So but again, Io got a different intro to the ring, and she got a band and a good stuff. I mean, they sounded really heavy, sounding like they were down tuned 7 strings, A tuning. So good shit from them. And then Io Shirai taking on Candice LeRae in a good matchup. I mean, they've been building this up for the last several weeks. Former best friends, allies, and now turned bitter enemies. And also, both women want a title shot at Shayna Baszler in the NXT Women's Championship. So a great opportunity for them to show who's one up on each other. Great matchup here to open up the show. Io Shirai picks up the win here. Up next, we got a Finn Balor promo, and this is Finn Balor's first promo in a really long time. And I gotta say, this turn for Finn Balor is really working for him. We saw last week on WWE Backstage following SmackDown last week, cut that promo and explain why he turned on Johnny Gargano and why the move to NXT. And to me, guys, it's all about feeling comfortable and feeling himself. And Finn Balor's, his confidence is through the roof. Him being back in NXT, a setting that he is familiar with, a setting that he feels he can really take over and be himself. It's good for him, good for his character. And once again, here on NXT, he cuts a tremendous promo explaining who he is and what's his mission statement. A lot like the Moxley promo on AEW Dynamite. These two were very parallel to each other. Finn, not holding back with puns or throwing in there some jabs, some good stuff, and facts as well. So, and also too, speaking of backstage, he said, the prince is back. So what does that mean? Is this we're getting a little bit shades of Finn Balor and New Japan stuff here? Is he assembling a unit, or is he just done doing anything that has to do with Finn Balor and the demon stuff, and he's being the prince now, as he says? So Good stuff there. Great promo. I love this stuff from Finn Balor. Bronson Reed was in action as he defeated Shane Thorne. It was a good matchup. These two are two natives from down under going up in a great hard-hitting matchup here. Also, the Kabuki Warriors defended their women's tag team championships against Dakota Kai and Tegan Nox, and what was a very good competitive match. But at the end, Kabuki Warriors come up with the victory. But what's more important and interesting about this match is post-match. And post-match, we saw Shayna Baszler and Desmond Duke and Maria Schaefer come down to the ring and put a good number on Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai as they were beaten down from the Kabuki Warriors in their match. But out comes Rhea Ripley to make the save and really to face Shayna Baszler. But before she makes it to the ring, she is attacked by Io Shirai. That leads Candice LeRae to come out and make the save, and also comes out Bianca Belair to even things up, and big brawl ensues with all the women. Officials come out, the referees come out to break this thing up. Finally, we see Rio up in that balcony, and he comes over and he makes the announcement that the solution to all this chaos is War Games. That's right. War Games, and what looks to be, it's going to be 2 teams of 4 led by Shayna Baszler and Rhea Ripley, guys, babyface and the heels, of course. This is an interesting and dynamic feature to what all these 8 women going into this matchup. So we have Shayna Baszler, Desmond Duke, Maria Shaffer, and Io Shirai taking on the team of Rhea Ripley, Candice LeRae, Bianca Belair, and I gotta imagine that they're gonna find a 4th member to add on to that War Games match. Should be interesting stuff. We also got in action Cameron Grimes taking on Tyler Bate, and this was a really good matchup from these two. Of course, this is coming off of last week's post-match shenanigans with these two after Cameron Grimes lost to Matt Riddle, and here they go one-on-one, and it was a very good technical sound matchup from these two. But at the end, Cameron Grimes picks up the victory, and once again, Cameron Grimes has been featured on every NXT telecast thus far, so as SCU, don't forget about them. But post-match, once again, look, a lot of stuff goes on post-matches. It's not just what goes on during the match. You got to really stick around what goes on post-match, because Killian Dain comes into the ring and puts a number on Tyler Bate, sending a message to Pete Dunne. So definitely some more interesting stuff brewing between those two as we head into NXT TakeOver Chicago. And in the main event, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish defeated the team of Keith Lee and Matt Riddle, and what was a really good matchup. This match was tremendous, hard-hitting. I mean, once again, Keith Lee in action. Matt Riddle, again, very entertaining. But again, post-match is where it counts, because after the match, O'Reilly and Fish pick up the win here. Ciampa comes out as Adam Cole and the Undisputed Era came back out and kind of even things up here. There's a 4-on-3 at this point, and it looks like we're going to get, once again, another type of 4-on-4 matchup here. Maybe we're getting 2 War Game matches at the next TakeOver, because it looked like it was going to be Keith Lee, Matt Riddle, Tommaso Ciampa taking on the team of the Undisputed Era, and of course that's a 4-on-3, which leads me to believe that the Velveteen Dream, who has some history with the North American champion Roderick Strong, will be the 4th member of this team. And yeah, it looks like we might have 2 War Game matchups at this year's TakeOver. So some really interesting stuff as well going on NXT. The month of November is going to be a great month for professional wrestling. And as we end this month, closing month of October is the first month of these 2 companies going head to head. And it's been good so far. For all much banter of this is a war and fans are hating on each other, I don't pay attention to all that crap. I'm enjoying both shows, and I enjoy calling out all the mishaps and all the bullshit on both shows, because there is some stuff that I don't agree on both shows and I might not like. But nonetheless, I gotta say that this week's professional wrestling week was great. And of course, that brings us to what to watch. And what to watch for, guys, is NWA Power and MLW Fusion. Be sure to check those out on YouTube for free. NWA new episodes every Tuesday at 6:05, 3:05 on the West Coast. And MLW new episodes every Saturday at 6 p.m. and 3 p.m. on the West Coast time on BN Sports, guys. And that's available as if you have PS View. And now it is time for our performers and floppers of the weeks, guys. This is where I give you guys my MVPs and floppers for the week, guys. My MVPs for the week is Jon Moxley and Finn Balor. Those promos from those two gentlemen this week were tremendous. I really love that they went out there and really let it be known, a crystal clear mission statement of who their character is and what their goal is in the company going forward. So I really enjoyed that. And flopper of the week, guys, I talked about it in the show, is the timing that AEW has right now, their dilemma with timing out the program. And I guess, again, I got to say that part of that blame goes to Cody and his segments during the show. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me for another episode of Speaking Wrestling. I thank you guys so much for your support. And again, guys, any like, any retweet, any comment, any follow will help this podcast grow. And you can help me out by telling a friend and sharing this podcast and going over to our YouTube page and hit subscribe. You can also follow us on Twitter at Speaking Wrestle and on Instagram at Speaking Wrestling, guys. And now it is time for me to go catch up on some Crown Jewel, then catch up on some SmackDown, some NWA, some Impact Wrestling, some MLW, and the list goes on and on. It's been a very busy week, but a good week for professional wrestling, guys. We'll do it again next week, guys, with episode 33. That's where we're going to talk Raw, SmackDown, and Crown Jewel, guys. We'll do it again. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.